It's the Invincible podcast here tonight, episode 6. You got Eldin, Arjun over there. What's
What's
up? No, we said it at the same time.
up? So, this episode, we're going to talk about the infamous VAR. You know,
Is it good
VAR has
for
been,
football or not?
ah, I mean, definitely it's not, but it's obviously plaguing the Premier League for sure.
Mm.
And there's always been like post match interviews of like Mourinho, Klopp, and all these other managers like saying VAR out, VAR out. But, there's some cases where, VAR favors teams that are not that big, But for me, I think VAR shouldn't even be in the Premier League. How about
I
you?
mean, that's the one thing today we're going to break down should VAR be in the Premier League. I mean, how long has it been since VAR was introduced? Has it been 2, 3 seasons
Yeah, probably.
around that time? And there's been so many instances where stupid goals were taken off or stupid decisions were made.
Hmm.
Then at times you can make the viewpoint that there were times where you know there was a goal scored that was offside and then taken back to probably the rest probably would have given. So it has its good things and its bad things.
Yeah, VAR. I feel like every season's been changing. Like there's like new things been added, but there's a trade off where like there's always a new bad thing that's been like figured out every season from VAR.
Yeah.
Like there's like so many incidents of handball. Handball has been a big topic for VR this season, and that's been most common around. But like, yeah, there's just a lot of instances, like you said.
Well, let's get straight into it. So we both kind of agree that no VAR shouldn't be. It should just they should just get rid of it. At this
Mm,
point, it's making the game worse than than before. And I think so many other things that are making it worse is like we don't even know what a handball is anymore. Like they've really ruined that part too, because there's so many times where you know, let's for example, Joe Gomez versus City, and the penalty we received that was
mhm.
also VAR, and it was like, well, what's a handball? Because his arm is out. Is it a natural position? You know, the, I think it was De Bruyne who sent the ball into the box. He has
Mhm.
his hand out just a little bit, and then VAR calls it a penalty. I think the ref called it a penalty after taking a look at VAR. So it's kind of like not only is VAR the problem, it's just like the ruling is the problem too. Just like the goalkeeper ruling with the has for penalties has to have 1 foot on the
Oh,
line.
yeah.
That's
That
stupid. There's no
too.
point in that where you're making it worse for the keepers when it's already bad for them that you have to go one on one, from 12 yards.
Yeah, and like another thing, it's like subjective. Like the distance between like what's a fair distance where like oh player's able to move his arm or like what's a perfect height for you to have your arm up? Is it like is this good enough? Is this above the head because it's on your neck, or is this close to your body? Like I don't know. It's always like there's always decisions like Eric Dyer. He was trying to cover his face. Obviously, it's a natural instinct where like you're trying to cover your face, but like Newcastle got a late penalty, and that could have been two crucial points for Tottenham for their like title chance or title run. And there's like a lot of last minute decisions where they mess up the team's flow or like the team's like deserving the win or the match. Like for example, Brighton getting a penalty conceded against United after the match was finished, and that's another subjective rule. Like, are you allowed to give a penalty after the referee blew the whistle, or should the referee have been more, watchful or more clear in looking at the corner and make the decision then, or like should the referee's decision be final before the whistle?
For me, I mean, you look at it first and foremost, like you look at that one season when VAR wasn't introduced. Well, it was the season before. I think it was the season that City won just barely over Liverpool that season. And you look at sometimes where Liverpool won their games, there were so many controversies. I remember, I forgot who they were playing, but there was an offside goal that they scored. I think Milner was played through, from a corner or something. He played through, crossed it in, scored, but Milner was offside. They let the goal stand. And now, so you look at those decisions and you see if VAR was there, ruled them offside, boom, would have changed probably the league, probably would have changed that result. and you say, okay, that would have been good. But then you look at instances like today, Ollie Watkins, first West Ham equalizer, his hand is offside. His hand is past the line. Like, of course, he's not going to score with his hand. So I think
Mhm.
that's the problem. Is like, why would you rule his hand offside? It should be like the if we're going to talk about like the thing that the body part of the body where you could score with. Maybe if his foot was offside, then you can maybe say that. But like if it's going to be his hand, I think that's just stupid because I think the referee would see that if he's gonna go score with if he hits the ball with his hand. So I think that shouldn't count.
Yeah, it should be like something like it doesn't matter if your like hand is offside or whatever. It's like you should look at the body part like where you actually scored the chance or something. I don't know, something like that. Like there was a instance in the season where Bamford was pointing to where he wanted the ball, but he's obviously not gonna flick the ball in the air and just hit it with his hand.
Yeah,
But he did score the chance, and like that was actually a crucial game for Leeds because they scored the equalizer. They're probably gonna build a momentum, but no, they lost 4-1. But Bamford, he doesn't even know what the offside rule too. He said it in the interview that like he honestly doesn't even know like the rules anymore because he was just trying to point. It's just I don't know. This is messed up.
and I think we all know that VAR is not going to be, they're not going to get rid of VAR. Of
Hmm.
course, it's just that you're not going to go back on something that you invest a lot in. But I think one thing that they should do is like we all they have that match official that's in the VAR room. I think that should be a former player. I think they should recruit former players because they would know, having played the game, they would know. Like, we go back to the instance of Joe Gomez. A former player would know rather than like a regular referee who's never played football that okay, when you're moving that way, your arm is going to naturally move in that direction, and then let them be the people that make the decision. And was like, okay, well, could he have somehow you know lowered his hand? Could he have, or is that just like the way it would have went either way? So I think, former players should be, taken into the refereeing, let them go through, let them learn, and then let them give their advice too, and let them be in the they don't have to be officials on the field, but let them be in the VAR room, kind of helping the referees out there because the referees still look lost, even with the VAR.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I mean, it's hard for players. I don't know if some players will be willing to do that, but like I feel like there might be a little bias with some players. Like,
That is
oh
true.
man, I remember playing against Man United and I hated playing against them. I'll probably go against the ladder and give the handball to another team or whatever.
I
Or
see that.
like,
I see that.
and like, I feel like referees are trained enough, but like, it's always like difficult when the players don't understand the rules. I feel like rather having players educated and being in the VR room, I feel like there should be like I don't know, like more training or more understanding of rules clearly. Like they should be more exposed or more transparent to the footballing world and like train the footballers in the rules in VAR so like they won't argue all the time. And like it's hard because like voting for these rules are like tough and it's always subjective and like it's hard to like agree on what's right for like many clubs.
Yeah, it's a tough one. It's always going to be a tough one when you're talking about something like VAR. I think it's not even only affecting the Premier League; it's affecting all the other top leagues.
Yeah,
Every
yeah.
league actually that has installed VAR. I mean, we've had instances in Serie A, Bundesliga, problems with that. So it's very
Champions
similar.
League, Man City.
Champions League, exact. Oh my God, don't even get me started on that.
Oh
So
man.
I think it's tough when you know there's a lot of problems when you go into something like this. I think there were similar problems with like the goal line technology, like you know look at John Stone saving the ball last second against Liverpool when it was like what barely barely
Mm.
almost past the line and then Stone saves it. So like there were always problems. There's always gonna be problems with technology, especially in football. But VAR is really taking it. It's been just horrible since the beginning.
Yeah. And like yeah, like you said with the technology being like not always perfect. Remember there was a time with Aston Villa Sheffield United, like the ball crossed the line clearly, but VAR just didn't even overturn it. And
Yeah,
I think like if VAR actually did overturn it, Villa would be relegated and like Bournemouth would have stayed up.
You're
But that
right.
actually technically like lost a lot of money for Bournemouth. They sacked Eddie Howe. Like
Yeah,
probably changed the course of history
lost
of
players,
lost. Yeah, Ake left, Wilson
Wilson.
left,
So
Frazier.
that's the
Damn.
thing, those types of decisions, especially for the smaller clubs, when it's kind of even every club, there could have been a VAR. You look back at the VAR decisions, you know, you kind of go back to like the season before that, if there was a VAR, when Liverpool kept getting away with, when Salah was, diving,
Yeah,
those they would have been
Mane too. Sometimes.
Mane too. They would have looked back, and I think that title, could them fighting for the title that season probably would have been different. But what's funny now is now that it's going against Liverpool, because you said earlier, I think before we kind of got on air, that Liverpool were kind of leading the what's it called?
Yeah, like VR decisions like going against. I think like they're -7. So
Yeah.
that means 7 decisions have been like going against them. That's
And now
crazy.
you got Milner, talking about it on Insta or Twitter, and now they're complaining. But when it was going for them, they weren't saying nothing. It was all
Yeah,
perfect for
yeah.
them.
It's always like, and they're always trying to find excuses now and then because they have an injured team
Yeah,
and VAR is going against them. Like nothing is really going against Liverpool. I mean, they're in a decent position. It's not like they're in Arsenal's position.
that is true.
I know like they'll suffer. I know they suffer, but like it's not really bad for them. I don't know why like there's hostility. I mean, I guess the player safety matters, but that's different from VAR.
Yeah, I mean it's always gonna be a tough one. I think VAR should. It's not gonna happen, so it's kind of tough to say. Oh, it should be gone. It should be dropped. But I think they really gotta take a look at really define everything better. They gotta really say, okay, do we count this offside? Do we count that offside? What's a handball? What's this? What's that? You got to look at the rules first and then see what VAR, because I think, we're all blaming VAR, but at the end of the day, it's also the rules because, every ref is different. Every league is doing different handballs, different, everything. So it's like, it's tough. Like, nobody even knows what a handball is. Nobody even knows, like,
Yeah,
keepers can't do this. What's an offside anymore? There's sometimes where there's a foul committed in the box, referee's gonna let it slide because it's in the box, but had it happened outside the box, referee would have called it. So I think that that's a problem too, because I think wherever a foul is committed, I think it should be called. Like you've seen those times where it's like a player kind of goes down in the box, they're gonna let it slide, but the same thing happens a little bit later down in the halfway line, and then referee calls it. It's like kind of like you got to be consistent with it.
yeah. I've seen a clip like with PK is like saying to one of the referees and like a Champions League match is like it's the same type of foul. He fouled over there, but he fouled in the box. It's
Yeah,
the same type of foul. He's like, nope, nope. PK. It's like I don't know. Sometimes ref have too much power,
yeah,
but in a couple days ago, I watched this like referee documentary called Man in the Middle, and I watched like some episodes of like it's about like referees decision making, why they became a referee and stuff, and then like specific moments in the Champions League where VAR or referee's decision affected the match. So it's like you could hear what the referees are saying in the ears of the main referee, and like saying it's a good decision, it's a good decision, it's 100% correct, it's above the uh it's above the sleeve, this and that,
yeah,
disallow, check the monitor. It's like such a good documentary, and like you could see their like decision making, like how much pressure they're getting from the fans, and even after the match, because there was an instance where Chelsea, how they came back 4-1 from Ajax. A
yeah.
lot of Ajax fans were like, hey, this referee ruined our season for us. We would have qualified for the knockout stage in the Champions League.
I mean, you talking about Chelsea versus Barca, and that game, five penalties they should have, but Chelsea should have had. Like think
We
about
need a
VAR over
VAR
that.
then.
I
Yeah.
mean, the thing is over there is that was a corrupt referee. It's not
Yeah,
even like, of course, I feel like even with VAR, it still would have gone the same way. They would have just called it over. But
yeah.
imagine that happening now. That would never,
Oh man, it would have been.
imagine like that everybody would go crazy, especially with social media. But I think that's the thing is like, especially with social media, like I think there's so much pressure for it to be perfect, even though it's probably never going to be perfect. Because every decision is going to be ridiculed online, on
Yeah,
Twitter, Insta, pictures here and there, right after it happens, it's going all over the place. So I think that adds to it.
yeah. The pressure is on. Like, I feel like referees get more pressure. They're like, you have all the resources. Why aren't you making the right decision? It just get toxic a lot, even for players as well, man. It's like,
I don't know. That's the VAR situation. It's just like, if what do you guys think? In terms of should VAR stay in the Premier League? What are ways to help fix it? What are ways to help make the game a little bit more fair in a way?
mhm.
What do you guys think? Leave us everything in the comments. But we're gonna redirect this conversation though. We're gonna start talking about Arsenal, the demise of Arsenal, Arteta, Aubameyang. We're doing a 2-1 on episode 6. So we finished the VAR talk. We're gonna talk about Arsenal. They sit where they sit right now, 14th.
I don't
How
know.
bad are
Like,
they? I don't even know where they're at.
let's see, 14th. Yeah,
They're
14th.
14th position. Aubameyang's played horrendous this season. Arteta, last season that everybody was talking about, he's the one that was gonna help bring Arsenal back, and boom, just horrible this season. What's the problem with them? Where's it gone wrong for them?
It's like lack of consistency. You know, too much hype over Arteta.
Yeah,
A lot of signings. They made some decent signings, but I feel like some are not clicking. Some are doing good.
I mean Pepe still hasn't clicked. It's been a season, so like he still hasn't shown us the reason they spent 72 million on him.
Mental club record fee.
Yeah, Partey has come in. I mean, he's been all right, but
I think he's injured.
yeah, he just got injured. I mean, they beat United. After they beat United, because let's go back through the season. What
Yeah.
happened?
Let's see how they started.
The start of the season.
Oh, they started
So
out great.
they beat Liverpool in the Community Shield. They beat Fulham 3-0. They beat West Ham 2-1. Um, then Liverpool beat them 3-1 in the third game. But that's kind of expected. It's Liverpool. And then you go into they beat Sheffield. So they start 3 wins, 1 loss in the Prem. And then City beat them, and it just started going down from there. Leicester beat them 1-0. They beat United 1-0. And then Villa, they drew with Leeds and lost to Wolves. So it's just been a downhill ever since, like, I would say that City game where the City beat them. Then they just started dropping points. They only beat United at that point. What's the problem? Like, you look at it, they're not scoring goals, I think is the main thing. And they're not, they're conceding a good amount of goals too.
Yeah. So I mean, I think I saw like a tweet or whatever that their goal of the month was Aubameyang's penalty against Man United, something like that. I don't even understand how his penalty is the goal of the month because they only scored that goal in the Premier League.
Wow.
See, Vardy came on last minute. They didn't even take their chances in that Leicester match. They got lucky because Man United were in a tough patch and they got a penalty. Leeds should have beaten them, and they got that silly red card. So discipline is a problem for Arsenal as well. And then just like a couple days ago or yesterday, they lost to Wolves, and hopefully Jimenez is okay. He got that head injury against David Luiz, but yeah, that I hope he gets a speedy recovery. But like, yeah, their whole home performances have been bad. Clearly, they lost to Villa, Wolves, and Leicester.
Yeah.
And I think maybe having no fans is taking a toll on Arsenal. Really.
I think it is because, they it's tough when you have a home game and then you have nobody, to kind of support you in terms of the fans, and their fan base is fantastic.
Hmm.
So, when you're used to that and the support that they have, when they're at home, and now you don't have it, and then you're playing teams like Leeds, you're playing teams like Leicester, those types of teams. It's tough because they're such kind of like dark horse teams. They're good quality teams,
Yeah,
and then you get surprised, and then you ended up like Wolves today. I mean, not when was it? Oh, this past weekend, right here,
yeah,
lost to Wolves
yesterday.
2-1. It's just bad performances. I think defensive. You look at the. Let's see who was starting against Wolves.
They had a pretty young, weird team, and like I think they changed formations, like a 4-2-3-1.
Well, in this Wolves game, they had what? Leno in goal, Bellerin, Luis, Gabriel, Tierney, Ceballos, Shaka, Willian, Willick, Saka, and Aubameyang. I mean, it's all right for me. They're playing a what 4-2-3-1. It's really young. Shaka. He's kind of he's on and off. He's not as consistent.
Hmm.
He gets a lot of hate. There's sometimes where he has fantastic performances. Sometimes he's just awful. Ceballos has been all right. Luis, he hasn't had a good game. He,
It's been injured.
yeah. Gabriel's been all right for them. He's been a decent signing.
He has scored 2 headers.
Yeah.
Decent, I guess. He had
You
a
know,
good performance against United.
he did, yeah. The thing is, you start a guy like Joseph Willick. He didn't get any
Yeah.
good, minutes before that. So it's like you just pluck him into the starting 11. There's no real actual starting. You look at all the other top six sides, you can pretty much name their starting 11 other than maybe one player that gets kind of switched out. The consistency is there, but for Arsenal, it's always switching, and I think that's the problem.
Mm. Yeah. Um, and like, Lacazette is their top goal scorer and he's on the bench. Rob
Exactly. Yep.
Holding, he comes on and off. I don't know. He's starting one game. Yeah, I get what you mean. Like, there's not like a perfect team of Arsenal. They're always experimenting. Willian hasn't been performing. Oba hasn't.
Go
Really.
back to what's it called? Sorry to interrupt you, but go back to the past what 3 seasons, last three Premier League winners, City twice, and then the Liverpool last season.
Mhm.
Liverpool last season, they always had the exact same starting 11. You knew what their three in the midfield was. You knew who was going to start. What's it called? A front three. You know, maybe sometimes switched. If someone was tired, injured, whatever. That season where City got 100 points, we all knew Fernandinho, Silva, De Bruyne. That was that midfield. For them, it's constantly changing. I mean, Partey, of course, is injured now, so you can't
Yeah.
blame him for that. But then sometimes you see El Neni playing. Sometimes Nelson's playing on the wing. Sometimes they're playing two strikers with Aubameyang playing a left wing. There's just not much consistency of like, and I think it's not even Arteta. That was always a problem with also who's the man? What's his name? I'm tweaking on the name. The manager before
Emery?
Emery. Yes, there you
Yeah.
go. Emery was the same. He never had any consistent lineups either. It's always switching.
Yeah, it's weird because I think Emery had better numbers than Arteta, and
Yeah.
they're in a much worse position. And like, besides the fact Arteta is doing a bad job, there's a lot of individual like errors from the team. Like, I don't know how you not expect Oba to like score in like I don't know how many games was his last goal like in the Prem. I
Yeah,
think
it's been a good
was it
amount. 4 games.
United's penalty.
Yeah, so that's been what 4 games ish, 3 4 games.
Yeah, how many goals they scored this season? I think it was 10. They're putting up like Burnley numbers. Like Burnley wish they had these numbers and this
I think they
negative
scored.
2 goal
Yeah, the
difference.
-2 to goal differential. I mean, Brighton scored more goals than them. That's
Yeah.
sad. You can't be have Brighton score more goals than you and can expect to do something in the Prem.
See, like if we were looking at a team like Wolves, they have 11 goals scored and 11 like conceded, but they're like, they get the job done. They
Yeah,
they work together as a team because I mean, obviously they're Portuguese and stuff, but they're always playing good. They don't need to score a lot of goals, but I feel like Arsenal they're lacking the end product that they need
I mean,
from
look at
Oba.
Sheffield last season, not this season, but last season.
Mm,
They had what in the top half or whatever from like from they had like has scored the least amount of goals from most of the teams, yet they still finished in very good position because they were together. There wasn't many individual errors that led to goals, or there wasn't
true.
inconsistency. There was that you always knew that defensive they were going to be strong, keeper
Yeah,
was going to be strong. Offensively, okay, they weren't the best. Of course, you don't expect a team like Sheffield to be scoring high numbers, but they were together. I think the thing with Arsenal is like, and it's been like this for a while, they're just all over the place.
yeah. I mean,
They don't
like,
have
who
that core.
do you think like Arteta should be sacked, or like
I don't
there
think
need to be
so.
more transfers that they need to make, or injury issues? I don't know.
I think I think the transfer policy should be better. I mean, I think you need to find out your core players and then
Mm,
build around them. So if you're gonna say, okay, Saka, Aubameyang, well,
yeah,
Party now, maybe Gabriel, add him into the list, Tierney, those are our
Leno.
core players. Yeah, all those are our core players, and then build around the best players that you could possibly find. Don't always look at getting former players like they've looked at a lot of Chelsea former Chelsea players. Well, Louise, what's it called, William. Don't do. I think they got to change that way.
Yeah,
Build young, you know, and then grow from there. I think it's gonna be a long process, but you gotta kind of. I think Arteta should stay. I think he's a good manager, but it should change. The scenery should change. You got to change the way everything's going in terms of transfer policies and who's playing those types of things.
yeah. I feel like if you're a young player at Arsenal, it's like a good time to be like at Arsenal because he likes
I
to play
agree.
his young players, and like sometimes it works out, sometimes like this situation right here, like they're suffering. So
Well, their captain is Aubameyang, right?
yeah,
The thing
I
is,
think
you don't have a true captain. I mean, nothing against Aubameyang. He's a great player, but you don't have that leader. You know what I'm saying? I think City's going through it too, especially last season, where when we lost company, boom, we didn't have nobody that's a true leader. You needed someone that's gonna kind of put the team together. When they were finishing top four with Wagner, what's it called? Who was it? It was Koscielny, who was the captain at that time.
they're like Murdersacker.
Murdersack. Those were guys that like, yeah, they weren't the best, but they were leaders. They were gonna, help rise everyone else. That's why they were finishing top four. Once those players got out, you never replaced those players with other leaders. Luis isn't a leader. Let's go.
Yeah,
Not a leader. Shaka's not really a leader. Aubameyang's he's not gonna, lead the team. There's two different ways of leading. There's always like, being silent and playing good. And
yeah,
then they're actually, picking the team up. And I think they don't have nobody that can pick the
yeah.
team up.
None of them. They have
Exactly.
none of those.
So I mean you gotta find those players. And it's tough, but you gotta find them. And that's where it comes with like scouting and, looking at youth, who's gonna be that true leader for them.
Yeah, I feel like Arsenal fan TV is their like leader. They're their captains. They deserve the armband.
I agree. I
But
mean,
yeah, and
you go,
what were
you
you
go.
gonna say? Oh, I was gonna say like Arteta isn't really a leader. Like same with like Ole. Like
Yeah,
Ole, you're not gonna get excited, or like pumped up like in a match. He's not gonna be like that influential. I'm guessing, but I know he's
exactly.
like a club legend there. But like I really don't see Arteta as a
He's not. I mean, he has the possibility of potentially being a leader, but I
yeah,
think, you know, I'm gonna compare him maybe to Leipzig. You look at Leipzig, all their players are young, different. Nobody's a true leader, but like Nagelsmann as a manager leads them in a way.
yeah,
So I think that's the thing. Like now, what's it called? Even Liverpool when they were kind of before Klopp, when Klopp came in, who was their captain at the time? I forgot who was it. I mean, it was Stevie G, but then he left, and then they have nobody. And now it's Van Dijk. But Klopp was kind of leading them. He has that
yeah,
personality to lead them, and now and they brought in the players that could lead them. Now they have Hendo. Oh no, sorry, I said Hendo was actually the captain, but Henderson, he rose up. Van Dijk, what's it called? Those are guys that are leaders. Firmino is a
yeah.
soft-spoken leader, but he's also kind of like steps up. Wijnaldum,
Yeah, and like leadership was important for Chelsea. Like when we signed Thiago Silva, you could see like in the corner of your eye, he's telling people what to do, even though he doesn't know English that well, or like he's trying to learn or
yeah,
knows a little bit. Like his experience, him playing well, like it comforts the team, and like having the captain armband when Azpilicueta isn't playing. And Azpilicueta, he's pretty vocal, but he sometimes shows like his leadership when he plays as well. But Thiago Silva is a leader that shows like he could show when he's playing, and like he's very vocal as well. Like that actually improved us as a team. And yeah, you like when you lost Vincent Company, it's been pretty hard for you guys as well.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends. Like, I think that Arsenal you can't keep trying to build by players that are expecting to perform right away. I think you got to take
Yeah,
it young. You got to grow it out. You got to want to you're gonna have to. It's a rebuild. They haven't rebuilt. They've just been trying to plug in holes, and that's never
yeah,
gonna work. Oh,
never.
that's the problem with Arsenal.
Yeah,
That's let us know down in the comments with the VAR situation. And what do you think about Arsenal? Should Arteta get sacked? Who should be sold? Who should be brought in? What do you think's the problem is? Why are they 14th? All those, send everything in the comments, man. Don't forget, that's how we do it.
make sure to like, share, subscribe, and we'll see y'all next week.
Yep, man. This was once again the Invincible Podcast, episode 6.